Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Would like to welcome you to our marketing review lesson, and this is on retailing and wholesaling. You're more than welcome to watch the rest of this video. However, would recommend that if you haven't watched the first 12 videos, I recommend that you watch those simply because it will explain cumulative concepts that are in this textbook. Would like to make it clear before I start the lesson that I'm doing this lesson for a review of the book, as in pointing out what's good, what I can add to it, and also for educational, so people will be educated about marketing, and informational about what is the principles or what's the information about marketing. Okay, it's not to take the intellectual property. Meaning it's not to take the credit for the intellectual property of the book. The intellectual property of the book goes to the publisher, which is Kotler and Armstrong. Okay. Now, with that said, as a disclaimer, I'm going to go to chapter 13, and let's talk about this. Okay. First of all, let's make sure that this is large enough. There we go. Now, remember that we're on part 3, which is designing a customer-driven strategy and mix. Now, for this chapter, we'll be talking about retailing and wholesaling. That's chapter 13. In the previous chapter, you learned that the basics of delivering customer value through the distribution channel design and management. Okay. Okay. Now we'll look more deeply into the two major intermediary channel functions, which is retailing and wholesaling. So basically, they're going to go into more detail about it. You already know something about retailing, which is retailers of all shapes and sizes serve every day. However, you probably know much less about the horde of wholesalers that work behind the scenes. In this chapter, we examine the characteristics of different kinds of retailers and wholesalers, the marketing decisions they make, and the trends for the future. When it comes to retailers, you have to start with Walmart as an example. There's other ones you can start with, but this is one of the major ones to consider, okay? Now, as it relates to a major retailer like Walmart, they live up to the promise, save money, live better. That is their slogan. But they focus on customer value, which has made Walmart not only the world's largest retailer, but also the world's largest company. Now, here are the case example about Walmart. I would ask you to actually go through and read about Walmart. It's talking about how it's been successful and how it also competes with Amazon and other retailers like Target. Okay. Now, it's definitely an accomplishment when you consider the variety of merchandise that it sells in the stores. Now let's talk about the four objectives that we need to have down for this chapter. For the first objective, we want to explain the roles of retailers and distribution channels and describe the major types of retailers. In other words, we want to talk about retailing. Number two, we want to describe the major retailer marketing decisions. In other words, retailer marketing decisions. For objective three, we want to discuss the major trends and developments in retailing. That is, retailing trends and developments. For the fourth objective, we want to explain the major types of wholesalers and their marketing decisions. Just give me one moment. Alright, thank you for waiting there. Yes, you want to explain the major types of wholesalers and their marketing decisions. That is, wholesaling. Sorry, I had to grab some coffee here. I just forgot to get it. Alright, before we start, I'd like to let you know the difference between retailing and wholesaling. The difference is in the supply chain, where retailing sells to the end user. Okay. Now, versus wholesaler, retailer sells to the end user in less quantity. Wholesaler buys in large quantities like the retailer, except it sells in much larger quantities than the retailer does. Okay. And where it buys from is also different, because the wholesaler buys directly from the supplier, which is oftentimes a trading company and or the manufacturer, versus retailer doesn't buy that. They buy from the wholesaler. Now, technically, a retailer can also be a wholesaler, as we talked about last week about eliminating intermediaries. Okay. Anyway, that's another conversation. So, the purpose of definition of terms. Retailers, all the activities involved in the selling of goods or services directly to the consumer for the personal or non-business use. So, well, it is for business use if it's selling to the consumer, but the amount that's normally sold is different, and its source where it gets its supply is different. Now, a retailer that's retailing. A retailer is a business whose sales come primarily from retailing, which is coming from a business where it's sold directly to the consumer. The reason why a wholesaler is not a retailer is because a wholesaler doesn't usually sell to the public in very large amounts. Even when you consider a bulk wholesaler like Costco, they don't sell wholesale amounts. Number one, because they don't want competition, but number two, because the average consumer doesn't have the demand or even maybe the funds to buy such amounts. So, especially the demand. All right. Now, let's talk about retailing. Okay. Now, retailing will be set up in such a way where it will store goods in a store, a warehouse, or a big store, big what they call a big box store, such as a Home Depot, a Macy's, a Best Buy, and a Target, as well as a Walmart. Now, many institutions sell directly to final consumers for their personal non-business use. Most institutions, manufacturers, wholesalers, and retailers do retailing, but most retailing is done by retailers. See, here's what it is. A retailer can be a wholesaler, meaning they could buy directly from the supplier. But a wholesaler is not a retailer because a wholesaler almost never sells directly to the consumer. Not in the amounts that a wholesaler buys. So when a wholesaler buys, they buy a certain amount to immediately resell to the next person in the supply chain. Okay. All right. Now that they've got that out of the way, let's talk about why it's important. Retailing plays a very important role in marketing channels. Each year, retailers account for more than $4.1 trillion in sales to final consumers. Okay. So the sheer volume of it is staggering. They connect brands to consumers for what marketing agency what marketing agency Ogilvy Action calls the last mile, the final stop in the consumer's path to purchase. Okay, so if you think about that, a wholesaler does not do that. A wholesaler will sell to a reseller such as a retailer who only sells in smaller amounts, as opposed to wholesaler only sells in large amounts. And of course doesn't normally sell to the end user or the consumer. In fact, many marketers are now embracing the concept of shopper marketing. That is, using in-store promotions and advertising to extend brand equity to the last mile. Okay? And encourages favorable in-store decisions. I want to double check to see if we are recording. Volume. Good. Okay, so double check that. Now, shopper marketing recognizes the retail stores itself as an important marketing medium. See, between the consumer and the wholesaler, you have the retailer. Okay? But as far as how the consumer buys, buys directly from the retailer. You understand what I'm saying? Thus, marketing must drive shoppers to action at the store level, meaning that's where consumers buy at the store. Now, there's different types of retail. have big box or supermarkets, and you have convenience stores, smaller. They sell from it. Um, there's two ways actually from a convenience store. They're basically a variation of that. They're a different type of retailer. So they buy either from a distributor, okay, or they could be done buying directly from the wholesaler. Now, it depends. So there's different types of retailing. Okay. Okay. Uh, now, thus marketers must drive shoppers to action at the store level. This is where shoppers are going to be buying. Okay. Point of sale marketing inside a large retail store chain can produce the same kinds of numbers as advertising on a hit TV show. Why? Because it's right there for them to see. See what I'm saying? Now you have other variations that even bigger crowds attack the large retailers, such as Costco, Walgreens, Safeway, and Kroger. Okay. Now some of these retailers sell in bulk, like Costco, like Sam's Club, right? Costco, Sam's Club, those kinds, okay? And probably other ones that I'm not familiar with. Okay? Now, in terms of shopper marketing is using in-store promotions and advertising to extend brand equity. So that's the purpose, brand equity, and the quote last mile unquote to encourage favorable in-store decisions. We're using in-store promotions and advertising. Okay, now shopper marketing involves focusing on the entire marketing process from product and brand development to logistics, promotion, and merchandising towards turning shoppers and buyers into point of sale. Of course, every well-designed marketing effort focuses on customer buying behavior. So don't forget that as well. And something we've talked about in previous chapters, so it's important to be reminded of that from time to time. Although most mailing is done in retail stores, in recent years, um, non-store retailing has been growing much faster than store retailing. There could be many reasons for that. One could be convenience. So basically, there is a service which is basically intermediary between the retailer and the consumer, believe it or not. These are your delivery services. So you could have it at a supermarket, you could have it at restaurants. And in the supermarket, you have some delivery services that will deliver food to people, okay, at a fee. So you pay for the merchandise, plus you pay a fee, a delivery fee, plus a tip for the driver, at least. At least allegedly, that's how it works. Now, in terms of the types of retailers show more. Uh, Retail stores come in all shapes and sizes, from your local hairstyling salon or family-owned restaurant to national specialty chain stores or REI, uh, Williams Sonoma to mega discounters such as Costco or Walmart. All right. The important thing to remember about retailing is its direct-to-consumer sales. Okay? There's different forms, there's different formats. Basically, in principle, that's what it is. Now let's talk about the major store retailer types, which I was talking about earlier. Number one, you have the specialty store. That is a store that carries a narrow product line with a deep assortment, such as apparel stores, sporting goods stores, furniture stores, and florists and bookstores. So basically, they specialize in one kind of product, with maybe some accessories that relate to it. You have clothing stores with single line stores, you have men and women stores, uh, those types of things. And under clothing, right, you have different types of clothing you can specialize. For example, you can specialize in shoes or footwear. Let's just say footwear as a category, right? Because that's going to be their niche. You're going to have so their segment is going to be footwear in general. Their niche is going to be okay, high end. Going to be expensive ones, can be discount ones, can be different ones. Then you have department stores. Okay, and basically that's a store that carries several product lines, typically clothing, home furnishing, household goods, with each line operated separate department managed by specialty buyers or merchandisers. Okay. Now this is a general store. Some examples would be Macy's, Sears, Neiman Marcus. For the specialty store, you have REI, Radio Shack, and Sonoma. Now, this is as of 2012 when we published this book. So I don't know if Radio Shack is still in business, but it was iconic at the time. Then you have something that's well known, which is supermarkets. They sell mostly just food. It's a relatively large, low cost, low margin, high volume self service operation designed to serve consumers' total needs for grocery and household products. That's your food, your hygiene items, anything relating to it, like kitchen items and things like that. Now, for convenience stores, the one I was talking about earlier, for convenience stores, it's a relatively small store located near residential areas, opening long hours, 7 days a week, and carrying a limited line of high turnover convenience products at a slightly higher price. Why? Because it's more conveniently located. So, for example, 7-Eleven, Stop and Go, Circle K, and Sheetz. I've never heard of Sheetz, and it could be your mom and pop ones too. They also have a variety of things in lesser volumes. In some, for example, but some of the higher sold items that may have more of, for example, alcohol, cigarettes, those things. Anyway, for discount stores, a store that carries standard merchandise at a lower price with lower margins and higher volume. So it's like the supermarket, except it has less volume, but is cheaper. So that could be a Walmart, a Target, or Kohl's, Dollar General, a Family Dollar, those types of places. And then, of course, we have the off-price retailer, which is not as common. That is a store that sells merchandise bought at less than regular wholesale prices and sold at less than reduced prices from manufacturers or from other retailers. These include factory outlets owned and operated by manufacturers, independent off-price retailers owned and run by entrepreneurs, or division of larger retail corporations and warehouses. For wholesale clubs wholesaling, that could be your Costco, your Sam's Club. It's selling at a limited selection of brand names, groceries, appliances, clothing, and other goods for deep discounts for consumers who pay membership fees. This is your bulk purchases, such as, it's your Sam's Club, Costco, TJ Maxx. I wasn't familiar that was what they had, but I guess that's what it is. Then we have a superstore. Now, a superstore is a very large store, traditionally aimed at meeting customers' total needs for routinely purchased food and non-food items. Category includes supercenters, combined supermarket and discount stores, category killers that can carry a deep assortment in a particular category and have knowledgeable staff. That's your Walmart Supercenter, your Super Target, your Meijer, your Staples, PetSmart, Best Buy, Barnes and Noble, etc. So each one of them are going to have their own niche. As in, Barnes and Noble doesn't compete with Walmart because they have different products that they specialize in. Okay. Now, some of those could be considered a specialty store, but more along the lines that it's just that it is a superstore. Okay. So whatever they specialize in, they have large amounts of it. Now, let's talk about this idea of amount of service. So for amount of services, different types of customers and products require different amounts of service. Okay. Now, there's many examples of this. This could be in industries where it's harder for them to get around, but these are valuable customers. It could be in places like airports or other publicly accessible areas. Okay. Now, self-service retailers serve customers who are willing to perform their own locate, compare, select process to save time and money. Oops. I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Otherwise known as your self-service. Now, self-service is the basis of all discount operations. Is typically used by retailers selling convenience goods such as supermarkets and nationally branded fast-moving shopping goods such as Target or Kohl's. Limited service retailers such as Sears or JCPenney's provide more sales assistance because they carry more shopping goods about which customers need information. Their increased operating costs result in higher prices. So that's basically what it is. You get more service, you pay more. That's fair, right? Now, in a full service retailer, which is high-end retail specialty stores, Tiffany or Williams Sonoma, first-class department stores such as Nordstrom or Neiman Marcus, salespeople assist customers in everyday phase of their shopping process. Okay. First, full-service stores usually carry more specialty goods for which customers need or want assistance or advice. They provide more services, resulting in higher operating costs, which are passed on to customers at higher prices. So, for your higher priced items or specialty items, it's going to require more assistance from staff in purchasing decisions. Let's talk about the product. If I can select only product line here. Let's talk about the product line here. Let's go over some definitions. First is our specialty stores. Remember that a specialty store is a retail store that carries a narrow product line with deep assortment within that line. Meaning they specialize in one area, but they carry a lot in that specialty. Now, the second one is department stores. Remember that department stores are a retail organization that carries a wide variety of product lines. Each line is operated as a separate department managed by specialists, buyers, or merchandisers. As far as a supermarket, it's a large, low-cost, low-margin, high-volume, self-service store, okay, that carries a wide variety of grocery and household products. Probably familiar with most of this stuff, but some of this, as we subdivide up retailers, there's different types. Okay. Now, just as a reminder, a convenience store, that's a small store located near a residential area that is open long hours, 7 days a week, and carries a limited line of high turnover convenience goods. So they pay more for it, but it's more convenient. Okay. Now, here are just some reminders of the definitions. Remember that a superstore is a store which has larger and a regular supermarket that offers large assortments of routinely purchased food products, non-food items, and services. So if you think of, for example, to understand this idea, if you think of a Walmart, right? Well, you can pretty much find everything there. You can buy a bicycle there, you can buy electronics there, food there, um, clothing there, snacks there, and even a pharmacy there. So, pretty much whatever you can think of, and even stationery, other, was it hunting goods or whatever, sports and hunting, I forgot what they call it. Basically, just for like hunting and sports and stuff. Oh, sporting goods store. Sporting goods department. Remember that a category killer is a giant specialty store that carries a very deep assortment of a particular line and is staffed by knowledgeable employees. Okay. So that's like a specialty store, if you think of it, right? So if you think of your bookstore, your hardware store, right, they specialize in one kind of thing, very deep in it, because that's their niche. In terms of the service retailer, right? A service retailer is a retailer whose product line is actually service, including hotels, airlines, banks, colleges, and many others. Okay? So it's basically like you're going to buy something in retail, but there's going to be some service that comes with it. Of course, it's going to cost a little bit more because you're getting the service. It's called value added. Now, remember that discount stores is a retail operation that sells standard merchandise at a lower price by accepting lower margins and selling at a higher volume. So that's what it is. Remember also, off-price retailer, what is that? Well, that's a retailer that buys at less than regular wholesale prices and sells less than retail. Okay? And the reason why they're able to do that is because they don't have a middleman. This is kind of like direct to. So suppose you have a company that produces their own goods. They have something called factory outlets. So it goes from factory to that store. There's no middleman, therefore it can make the price cheaper. Also, we have independent off-price retailer. Now, an off-price retailer that's either independently owned and run or is a division of a larger retail operation. And as far as a factory outlet, which is similar to an off-price retailer, factory outlet is an off-price retailing operation that is owned and operated by the manufacturer and normally comes at a manufacturer's surplus, discontinued or irregular goods. So remember with off-price, buys at less than regular retailer buys at less than regular wholesale prices because they're making it themselves, and sells at less than retail. Okay? Now, I've got this highlighted. Um, just be familiar with the terms. If you have to go through it a second time, look through it. You're welcome to do so on this video. You can fast forward or actually rewind and go through it a second time. Now, here we have a case example about Dollar General. Now, Dollar General is a retail store. They're a retailer, but a discount retail store. Okay, so discounted Dollar General, the nation's largest small box discount reseller, makes a powerful value promise at a time. Save time, save money every day. That is their slogan. Okay? I encourage you to read this. Read this case study. Now, you'll find that the way they do their retail is different than other stores you're familiar with. And it talks about how they were successful, which is basically that every company has to find a system that makes them successful and stay with the system when it no longer is successful. They adapt and then they come up with something that's successful and they use it. So I will tell you that they came up with a formula in a way to ensure profitability while supplying at the demanded amount. Now, let's talk about warehouse clubs, okay? Now, Warehouse Club is an off-price retailer that sells a limited selection of brand name grocery items, appliances, clothing, and hodgepodge, which means like a different various collection or various kinds of hodgepodge of other goods and deep discounts to members who pay annual membership fee. As an example, Costco, you might have heard of them before, right? They sell in bulk. So when you buy something, first of all, you pay a membership. When you buy something, you buy in the bulk amount. Okay? That's the idea. Now, each Costco store, for this is just for one example, Costco. And by the way, it's also known as a warehouse club. So when you go in, it basically looks like a warehouse. Um, yeah, so it's not as much service. It's a greater variety of things. But when you buy in bulk, you always get a better deal. Each Costco store is a theater of retail that creates buying urgency and excitement for customers. So that's one valuable thing for a customer in terms of the experience. Mixing with regular stock of staples, Costco features a glittering, constantly shifting array of one-time specials such as discounted Prada bags, Galloway golf clubs, Kenneth Cole bags, deals you just won't find anywhere else. In fact, of the 4,000 items that Costco carries, 1,000 of them are designated as treasure items. That's Costco's words. The changing assortment and great prices, people keep coming back with wallets in hand. There was a time when great unwashed masses shopped at off-price retailers. But Costco has changed all that. Even people who don't have to pinch pennies shop there. Well, what's wrong with getting a good deal, right? Let's talk about the organizational approach. So we talked about value from a customer's point of view in terms of what the retailers are and what they do, and how does it benefit customers. All right. In terms of the organizational approach, although many retail stores are independently owned, others band together under some form of corporate or contractual organization. Right, so that's the premise. Major types of retail organizations include corporate chains, voluntary chains, corporations, and franchise corporations. If you remember from last lesson when we talked about franchises, that is a situation in which somebody pays a corporation or company the rights to use their name to purchase goods, to use their name to operate a store that has their name, and also, as far as I know, they only the merchandise they sell is purchased directly from them. Now, in terms of chain stores, those are two or more outlets that are commonly owned and controlled. Okay. Now, in terms of a franchise, remember that a franchise is a contractual association between the manufacturer, wholesaler, or service organization to a franchisee, or they call it franchisee, and the independent business. Oh, sorry, from the franchisor to the franchisee. The franchisor is the organization. The franchisee is the independent business people who buy the rights to own and operate one or more units of the franchise system. So basically, they can open a store and use their name to sell goods. They'll buy directly from them for the goods that they need to sell. The idea of a chain store is that it started out small as in one store, and it was successful. What they want to do is they say, okay, we study the regions, to study the areas. What they're going to find is that because of the name, you're able to sell the product in multiple locations, or multiple cities, states, regions, wherever, even countries. And now, the great success of corporate chains caused many independents to band together of one or two to form contractual associations, such as the franchise setup. One is a voluntary chain, which is a wholesaler sponsored group as independent retailers that engage in group buying and common merchandising. For examples include Independent Grocers Alliance, Western Auto, and Do It Best. The other types of contractual association is a retailer operative. Now, those are the group of independent retailers that bands together to set up a jointly owned central and wholesale operation and conduct joint merchandising and promotional efforts. Okay. So some examples are Associated Grocers and Ace Hardware. Probably heard of Ace Hardware, it's quite famous. These organizations give independence. The association give independents the buying and promotion economies they need to meet the prices of corporate chains. Now, another form of contractual organization is called a franchise, right, which is probably one of the more common ones. The main difference between a franchise organization contractual systems, the main difference is that is contractual system, which is voluntary chains and retail operatives, is that franchise systems are normally based on some unique product or service. Okay. For example, there is a difference between McDonald's, Burger King, and, for example, Carl's Jr. Okay. Or what was it? What's the other one? Arby's, Wendy's, those fast food places. Okay. Franchising covers a lot more than just burger joints and fitness centers. Franchisees have sprung up to meet just about any need. For example, Mad Science Group franchisees put on science programs for schools and scout troops and birthday parties. Mr. Handyman provides repair services for homeowners, while Mary Maid tidies up their houses. So these are different niches under the same sort of retailing scheme type, okay? Once considered upstarts among independent businesses, franchise now command 40% of all retail sales in the United States. These days, These days it's nearly impossible to stroll down a city block or drive in a city street without seeing a McDonald's, Subway, Jiffy Lube, or Holiday Inn. One of the best known and most successful franchisors, McDonald's now has 32,000 stores in 118 countries, including almost 14,000 in the United States. It serves 58 million consumers a day, racks up more than 54 billion dollars in annual system-wide sales. Nearly 80% of McDonald's restaurants worldwide are owned and operated by franchisees. Gaining fast is Subway, which is one of the fastest growing franchisees with more than 32,000 shops in 91 countries, including more than 23,000 in the United States. I've been to other countries, so I know for sure that I can see how popular they are. I mean, you look at China, Singapore, Hong Kong. This used to be Hong Kong, I don't know anymore. And I think Canada, probably Canada. So those places I've been to, and there was a Subway there, so the idea is that they replicate the same experience in terms of the quality and the consistency of the products, and preferably of the service itself. Now, if we're talking about retail marketing decisions, let's go in detail about what that is. Now, retailers are always searching for new marketing strategies to attract and hold customers. In the past, retailers attracted customers with unique product assortments and more or better services. This is a premise. Today, retail assortments and services are looking more and more alike. Many national brand manufacturers, in their drive for volume, have placed their brands almost everywhere. You can find most consumer brands not only in department stores but also in mass merchandise discount stores, off-price discount stores, and all over the web. Thus, it's more and more difficult for any retailer to offer exclusive merchandise. Now, if it's something only they make, uh, so your more expensive brands are not going to be discount stores. They're not going to be. Um, Now, if you have like a dealer that sells a lot of them, and they don't have, let's say, they don't have an exclusive relationship, you can see one has larger inventory, larger and deeper product line. Service differentiation among retailers has also eroded. Many department stores have um, trimmed their services, whereas discounters have increased theirs. And if you think about it, the reason why is either they found a way to get competitive advantage. Why? If you can reduce the cost, you can increase your profit. Or if you could find something value added to maintain your cost or maintain your price, you can also get competitive advantage as well. Customers have been smarter and more sensitive. They see no reason to pay more for identical brands, especially when service differences are shrinking. For all these reasons, retailers today are rethinking their marketing strategies. Now, this was published in 2012, but if you even think now over the past 3 years, there's been a growing trend. It's not just over the past 3 years, but over several years, there's been a growing trend for self-service in stores. Like, for example, if you go in a supermarket and you have like what they call self-service checkout, okay, what do you think the purpose of that is for? Well, save money. If you don't have to hire an employee to do that job, and you just have the machine that you just once in a while have to service as needed, well, that's a lot cheaper in the long run than it is to hire an employee. Okay? Plus, self-service kiosks can be in operation 24 hours a day. People can't be different, right? Customers have become so. Yes, remember that customers have become smarter and more price sensitive, so it is easier to sell those types of solutions and also to get people to accept those. Now let's talk about this from a marketing standpoint. Now, if before I go into detail, I'm just going to talk about what you're going to see below, which is that retailers face major marketing decisions about segmentation and targeting, or differentiation and positioning, and the retail marketing mix. Now, let's talk about what that stuff is from a marketing standpoint. So let's talk about segmentation, targeting, differentiation, and positioning decisions. So these are important things to understand. Similar to what they talked about in previous chapters, but going into more details, that retailers must first segment and define their target markets, and then decide how they will differentiate and position themselves in the markets. So if you think about it, right, we need to be different than our competition. Why? Because the consumer wants to know why should they buy your product as opposed to the competition's product. Should the store focus on upscale, mid-scale, or downscale shoppers? Do target shoppers want variety, depth, or assortment? Convenience or low price? Until they define and profile the markets, retailers cannot make consistent decisions about product assortment, services, pricing, advertisement, store decor, or any other decision that must support their positions. Okay? So we have to decide how we're going to position ourselves. First of all, we need to consider what our segment's going to be. Okay? Are we going to what? So that's the questions you ask yourself to determine what segment you're going to be in. Okay? Then, once you know what segment you're in, you position yourself to the customer from a value proposition standpoint. What your value proposition is. That will be your positioning. Right? Now, Too many retailers, even big ones, fail to clearly define their target markets and positionings. So first of all, you need to be in the right industry. If you're selling cars, I know this sounds very silly, but when we talk about target markets, it's pure common sense. Basically, it's like if you're selling cars, you don't want to be. Now, there's some automotive department there, but if you're selling all just cars, you don't want to be selling something in the wrong sort of market. You don't want to be selling in Walmart if you're selling, luxury cars. I know that sounds silly, but it's what it is. So whatever your product is, you have to be specifically in that market that sells that. If you're selling cars, only sell in a car market. Don't sell in a book market. Don't sell in a supermarket. Don't sell in a food market or whatever market. It has to be specifically what it is. Now, once you know what market you're going to be in, for example, suppose you're going to be in the car market, right? You need to know what kind of car you're going to be selling. That's your segments. Okay, so is it going to be gas powered or EV? And then what kind of gas powered EV? So are we going to be like a mid-sized car? Are we going to be a truck? Or we could look at it in the opposite way. You can actually look at it both ways. We could look at it as, for example, mid-sized car, compact car, or trucks. Right? And then from there, maybe that's better to say it this way. Then from there, what we can do is we can figure out our niche. Okay, for example, we're going to be selling mid-sized cars. Okay. How are they going to be powered? Okay. And what are the prices going to be? Is it going to be an expensive car? Okay, well, that's one niche. Now, within your niche, expensive cars, you have product lines. One product line could be gas powered, one product line could be EV powered. The other one could be, for example, hydrogen powered. See what I'm saying? Those are your product lines. Okay. Now, with the product lines, you can have different brands as well from different companies. If you're not an exclusive, you don't have exclusive relationships from the brand dealership's point of view. Okay. Now, let's get through some of this. Now, to apply this idea, I want you to look at figure 13.1, which is the retailer marketing strategy. Now, what I did was I basically previously just summed up things to get you to understand what I'm talking about. Now, from a retailer strategy, we need to consider two things. First of all, retail segment and targeting. So I just told you about. Then from there, once we know what segment, we know what target market we're going into, such as cars. We need to know the segment. What kind of car? And once we know for example, what kind of car, we know how is our car going to be different than our competition's car. That's the differentiation. And then our positioning is the value that different car has from the perception of the consumer. So positioning is to communicate the value, or actually the unique value to the consumer. Now, when it comes to retail marketing mix, we want to talk about product and service assortment. What do we have for products? When we say assortment, that means different kinds. Those are product lines. Now, with the product, we also have the service. That's called value added, and that's how you get the competitive advantage when you have value added service. Okay. Next, we have retail prices. Depending on where you are on the supply chain will depend on what your prices are, depending on that value chain delivery network, which we talked about from last chapter in chapter 12. Now, we also want to talk about the promotion. How are we going to get people into the store? How do we get people to understand the value of the products? Okay. What attention are we bringing to the brand? Okay. From the distribution, it has to do with the supply chain through our value delivery network. Remember, through the value delivery network, we're using partners in the supply chain that all cooperate to all benefit from the process. Now, that also relates to distribution. All that contribute to the distribution. That is, selling a total amount of inventory divided by how many dealers or how many retailers, depending on if it's business to consumer or business to business. So it depends on the model that we're dealing with. Now, once we have that established, we need to consider that it creates value for targeted retail customers. Remember, this is business to consumer, not business to business. If we look at the model now of Whole Foods, we understand that this is a higher end, fresher, more expensive food, better food, at least in theory. So what is this positioning? It's positioning itself as a higher end, higher value store. Okay, that's positioning of Whole Foods. Okay, now let's talk about product assortment and services decision. When we talk about product assortment, remember this is the different types of products that we have, and the services decision. What services are we going to provide as a result of what we need to support the product sales? Remember that retailers must decide on three major product variables. Okay? Number one, that is the product assortment, meaning what are the kinds of products you'll be selling. Number two, the services mix. What types of, these are two or more types of services. Okay? Number three, what's the store atmosphere? Okay, so, if you think about it, let's break it down again. What type of products are you, price assortment is basically what type of products are you going to be selling. Services mix. What type of services are we going to be providing? Number three, store atmosphere. What's going to be, what will the store feel, what will the look and feel of the store be? Will it be like a warehouse? Or will it be more like a fun, interactive, like if we're buying a computer or game consoles? Or it will be something where you interact with the product to understand its the experience that you'll have when you use it. Now, specialty retail stores, some do that, like clothing or shoes. Some will have more to give you the idea of in the environment where you use it, how will it feel. Okay? So, in the higher end retail stores, we have that where they get to try on things, the things are custom fitted. That's one way. Another way is your sporting goods stores. Okay? They may have a simulated version of it where it's like, okay, how does it feel like to, cast like using like a rod and a reel for fishing? What does it feel like? Also, when you're selling games, what's the experience? And give you like a demo version of something. How does it feel like when you use that? Okay? Something like that. Now, there's different various degrees of this, and also depends on how creative they are. So they can set up an environment that feels like they're like on a fishing boat fishing. I mean, you can get really creative with this stuff, but that's how you differentiate your services mix along with your product mix. Okay? Now, remember that the services mix also helps set one retailer apart from another. Okay? It's the differentiation. For example, some retailers invite customers to ask questions, consult service representatives, and persons via phone keyboard. Okay? There's many examples depending on the product. Nordstrom promises to take care of the customer no matter what it takes. Home Depot offers a diverse mix of services to do-it-yourselfers. Do-it-yourselfers, from how-to classes and do-it-yourself for yeah, and kid workshops or proprietary credit cards. Different things depends on the product. Now, the most interesting thing I've heard of so far is where people are able to this outdoor clothing store. It's called experiential retailing. At the REI store, consumers get hints or experiences with merchandise via the store's mountain bike test trail, gear testing stations, huge rock climbing wall, or at an in-store simulated rain shower. So those types of things, when you feel like you're right in the environment, and you'll know, okay, well that's what the experience will be if I have this product. Now, a store's atmosphere is either another important element of resellers' products arsenal. Retailers want to create a unique store experience, one that suits the largest market and moves customers to buy. This is the premise. It's a very basic premise, but that's what it is. Basically, the more immersed you are in the experience and the more you can feel that this is a value, the more likely you are to buy. Versus, so that's more for specialty stores, more expensive. Otherwise, other places where it's you can tell it's more exclusive or higher end. Those types of stores like Whole Foods, then also they can see the value of it as well. Exclusive food that's not sold at the supermarket, they'll have it at Whole Foods. In some countries, just having Western food in general, like in China, like certain types of bread, milk, and eggs, especially bread and, well, not bread, milk, sorry, bread and cheese, is considered kind of an exotic thing where you very rarely have access to that. Only in what they call international supermarkets. So what will happen is, based upon what it is that you're experiencing, you'll have a different way of expressing the experience. So what they'll do is, the more expensive ones, they'll get to try out a sample of it and see if that's something you want. So I'll have little teeny pieces of bread on whatever you call it, like a toothpick, kind of like one of those things, and get to try out one piece of cheese or bread. Those types of things. Also, Costco used to, I don't know if they still do it, used to give you offer free samples so you'll know how certain types of food taste. Now, one of the most uniquely immersive and experiential marketing I've ever seen is Cabela's. And there's a case example that's very interesting. Let me just sum it up. I'm going to have you read the case example on your own. It's a very interesting thing. The store atmosphere at Cabela's real magic lies in the experience it creates for those who visit. This is more than just a place to get fish hooks. We wanted to create some sense of wonder. That's basically what it is. You create a similar environment of what they're going to be in when they use the product, that's going to be on the highest and the most positive end. Cabela's is kind of like an LLB, your REI, your North Face, just general outdoor goods, premium quality. All right. Now, this is about price decision. Now, this is all important. Is the price decision when you add the value-added service, what you're doing is trying to be persuasive, to show that this meets their needs and that it has the value that it's worth the price that you're paying for it. Okay? A retailer's price policy must fit its target market and position, product and service assortment. Okay, that would be the first thing that's obvious, right? The competition and economic factors be able to satisfy all of those. All retailers would like to. One second here. Yes, all retailers would like to charge high market markups and achieve high volume. The two seldom go together. Most retailers seek earlier high markups and lower volume. That is, most specialty stores are low markup or higher volume. Most merchandisers and discount stores. So your low markups and high volumes are your mass merchandisers and discount stores. Now, if you think about the higher end stores, this is more about the experience and the customization, the tailoring to what they're looking for, and focusing on service. After all, if you have two products, maybe they're similar in price or maybe one is more, the question still is, why should it be more for the more expensive product? The question is quite simple. The way to show the differentiation is the way that answers the question. Retailers also must thus decide on the extent in which they will use sales and other price promotions. Okay. Some retailers use no price promotions at all, competing instead on product and service quality rather than on price. If you buy an expensive watch, is it going to position as a cheap watch or high quality watch? You're not going to position yourself on price, you're going to position yourself on quality. See the difference? It's difficult to imagine this store, which is Burgardordy Goodman, holding 2 for price of 1 sale on Chanel handbags, even in a down economy. You know why? Because even in a bad economy, somebody's buying. Okay. You take the poorest countries in the world, and there's always people who can buy. Well, in this case, doesn't really have as much to do with marketing as to do with economic considerations, which is that they control more resources, which is a different topic than what we're talking about. But the point is, even when the overall buying power of the society is less, there'll be people who have buying power and who can afford to buy whatever products you're selling. So that's the point. Now, other retailers such as Walmart, Costco, and Family Dollar practice everyday low pricing, charging constant everyday low prices with few sales or discounts. Okay? So you can't really compare those two segments because one is high price and one is low price. Those are different segments. You can't compare them. Now, among the high prices, you could specialize in different types of products. That's a different niche. So just because it's in the same segment doesn't mean they're competitors. Because maybe they have they're different products. For example, jewelry with shoes, that's a different product, right? What about jewelry with clothing, right? How about even jewelry with watches? It's not the same. It is true oftentimes in jewelry stores you will have watches, but they're related but not the same. It's related in terms of its positioning, but it's not related in terms of its niche. So there are other retailer pricing practices that they use. One is called high-low pricing, which is charging higher prices on an everyday basis, coupled with frequent sales and other frequent promotions to increase store traffic, and to create a low price image or attract customers who will buy other goods at full price. So it's basically like you sell expensive product, and sometimes you have a promotion on that product. The idea is it's a loss leader to get people to come in. That way you have more customers that will pay full price. And of course, repeat business is where most businesses are. Now, let's talk about the promotion decision process. Remember that retailers use all of the 5 promotion tools. Just as a reminder, it's advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, public relations, PR, and also direct marketing to reach consumers. And these are different ways you can do promotions. Oops, sorry. So they advertise in newspapers and magazines and on radio, television, and even on the internet. Advertising may be supported by newspaper inserts, catalog, store. That is, store salespeople can greet customers, meet their needs, and build relationships. Sales promotions may include in-store demonstrations, displays, sales, and loyalty programs, PR activities, in-store openings, special events, newsletter, blogs, and other store magazine. Public service activities are also available to retailers. What a company does is it considers when it's timing in the market and then approaches a marketing campaign relevant to that. So if you have a grand opening, you'll have some promotions. You're opening a grand opening for a restaurant, clothing store, even an electronics store. You may have some giveaways. You may have some promotions where you have some that are on what they call on sale, which is it's a discount off of its regular price. So you have your promotion decision. How are you going to promote the product in terms of its advertising? Then we have the place decision. Where are we going to place a product or service? Is it going to be in person, as in brick and mortar, or is it going to be over the internet? The two major ideas. Retailers often point to these critical factors in recalling success, which is location, location, location. Remember that as of 2012, this mattered more than 2023, which is this year, of course. So nowadays, it's easier and more convenient just to advertise on the internet. But not everything can be advertised on the internet, because some things you actually need to experience, such as a car, maybe try on some clothing, those types of things. Now let's talk about physical locations where it's convenient and it's effective to have a shop. Okay, let's put this in basic terms. Okay. Excuse me. Before I talk about that, I'd like to note that most stores today cluster together to increase their customer pulling power and give consumers the convenience of one-stop shopping. Okay. Central business districts were the main form of retailer clusters until the 1950s. Every large city and town had a central business district and a department stores, specialty stores, banks, and movie theaters. When people began to move to the suburbs, however, those central business districts with their traffic, parking, and crime problems began to lose business. Okay? So it's good in the beginning until it becomes either saturated or there becomes other social slash legal slash political issues, mostly social and legal issues. Now that's particularly interesting because these days there's been things being on the news about some people coming into even a mall and robbing a store. See, so there has to be some sort of way to protect the product without it being stolen, also, and make sure it's in the right place. So what some stores have done is, if they're in an area where there's too much loss of product, okay, or otherwise known as shrinkage. Basically, what they do is they say, okay, well, we have to assess the ongoing risk and loss that's already happened, slash what's likely to happen in terms of risk, right? Compared to possible benefits, so it's what they call risk versus reward, or otherwise known as return on investment, or ROI. You have to make that assessment based upon historical data, based upon likelihood of certain things happening. And some stores will just relocate to better areas where there's less crime, the, the insurance is less because the replacement of the cost to replace items, basically in the frequency or the amount of the item itself, is less. So what you've been seeing in the news, remember this article here was, not article, but this book was published in 2012. Recently, you see articles this year in 2023 talking about people robbing stores, jewelry stores, other things like that. So you need to be in the right location where your business is protected, won't be robbed. You won't have to. You'll get good foot traffic, get good business. Those things. Usually, it's positioned in a shopping center where you have other convenient things, meaning you're already going to be in the area, so you're already going to get foot traffic in general. Okay? So they're not just going, so you don't have to worry about are they going to go directly to you, rely on that, or they're just going to be people in general. Which is, if there's foot traffic, it's good for everybody because there's exposure of your product to or service to everybody. Okay? So that's a win-win. But as a matter of definition, and you're probably familiar with this term, but just to make sure, a shopping center is a group of retail businesses built on a site that is planned, developed, owned, and managed as a unit. So if you want to think about this in layman's terms, it's basically a building that features several businesses of all types. Okay? Notice it's not just one small building, it's usually larger to support many different businesses. Okay? Now, I know that's pretty straightforward about shopping center, but just to make sure. Now, let's talk about, before I talk about the next one, let's contrast a couple of things. First of all, traditional shopping centers are dying and other types of centers are being constructed. The current trend toward the so-called power centers are huge unenclosed shopping centers consisting of of a long strip of retail stores, including large freestanding anchors such as Walmart, Home Depot, and Costco. Best Buy, Michaels, PetSmart. Each store has its own entrance with parking directly in front of the shoppers who wish to visit the store. Power centers have increased rapidly over the past few years and challenge traditional indoor malls. In contrast, lifestyle centers are smaller open-air malls with upscale stores in convenient locations and non-retail activities such as playground, skating rink, hotel, dining establishments, and a movie theater. So we have it's a variety of things to fit a lifestyle of that demographic. If you look at it from a strategic demographical standpoint, that's basically what it is. Now, and the idea with the mall is that it fits a certain demographics of people. Let's talk about retailing trends. Okay. And before we do that, we're going to just take a few-minute break, intermission, so we can get up, stretch, get some water, etc. Be back in a few minutes, okay? Thank you for your understanding. Be back in a few. Alright, welcome back. One thing I do suggest when you do study is take a break every hour or so, just to refresh your body. Um, Obviously, this is not something in the book, but there is something called the principle of declining returns, which it's something actually, I believe it's from economics, which is basically talking about that once you get past a certain amount of once you get past a certain amount of demand, and you get past a certain amount where it's necessary to use, after the amount that's necessary to use has been eclipsed, basically it declines. So just like supply and demand, once the demand has met the supply, right? Sorry, once the supply has met the demand, if the demand is no longer at the same level as supply, then you have a negative result, which means in the beginning when you have more energy, you use up as you have time and energy going on the same curve, right? Once your energy starts declining, time still stays constant on the x-axis, but on the y-axis, right? You're going to have a vertical up or down trend, which is the fact that if your energy goes down, then your production, so energy is production over time as it relates to production compared. So your energy that produces production, or, right, or spurs production, uh, is compared to production over time. Okay? So as your energy goes down, your production goes down. See what I'm saying? Sounds pretty much like common sense, but that's basically where it comes from. Is the principle of declining returns. Once you've done over a certain amount, the return you get on is less. That's what I'm saying is technically the most ideal situation is 50 minutes. Okay. You can go Google it and look it up, but 50 minutes technically is the maximum you want. So I'm saying about an hour or so. A little bit more, a little bit less, depending on how fresh you are in the day. Maybe if you're fresh in the day, maybe you can go maybe 2 hours, be fine. But if in the evening, maybe by 1 hour, you probably like, okay, let me take a break. Okay. Now, let's go back to talking about um, marketing as it relates to wholesalers and retailers. Now, in this chapter, we're talking about aspects of wholesaling and retailing. Now, let's continue on with retailing trends and developments. Okay, sorry. It's been a long day, so it's one of those things where you just have to take a deep breath. I'm sorry. Right there's. There we go. Sorry about that. This is retailing trends and developments. Okay. Now, remember that retailing operates in a harsh and fast-changing environment, which offers threats as well as opportunities. Remember SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Okay. In retail, we've got threats and opportunities. Remember, your threats is your competition. Opportunities is what the market offers you, things that you can do, and things that you can benefit as in value created to the company. For example, the industry suffers from chronic overcapacity. Okay, so what's the opportunity? Remember this. This is a business idea. whenever there's a problem, there's an opportunity. So whenever there's an inefficiency in the market, there's an opportunity. So it's kind of like whenever there's a negative, there's a plus. And whenever there's a plus, there's some sort of drawback as well. It's not perfect, there's a negative as well. See? So when we see this, right, when we see a problem, a drawback, we see an opportunity in business, such as chronic overcapacity, resulting in fierce competition from customer dollars, especially in tough economic times. So what companies do when they have these types of overcapacity, chronic means repeated overcapacity. What they do? Give you one example of one industry, airline industry. Let's compare two types of the year. Your high season, otherwise known as your peak season, and your low season, otherwise known as your off-peak season. Okay? Those are opposite times in terms of demand. So when you have overcapacity, it means that you have more supply than demand, by definition. So let's think about this for a second. Okay, so if we have more capacity than demand, what we need to do is called overstock. Okay, and I'm not really sure if they have a different word for it in this book. But they might have mentioned it before. By definition, it's called overstock. Okay? Overstock does is it starts from regular retail operation to discount pricing because you need to move the inventory. The reason why you need to move the inventory is because most inventory, especially if it's clothing, it's seasonal. Just like I was saying in the airline industry, we have seasonal as well. We have the summertime and we have the wintertime. Those are two peak seasons. Why? Because they correspond with either summer vacations or with holidays. November and December, and for Asia it's January or February. Okay. Then for some countries they have their New Year's at different times of the year as well. So for regional carriers inside of the country, that may be peak season as well. But peak season means there's high demand. Off peak means there's a low demand. So during off peak, you have overcapacity or a under demand. I'm not sure if that's the correct term, under demand. But basically, you have less demand than supply. Okay? So what airlines do to sell those seats on an airplane when there's less demand overall in the market, is they'll sell those over those seats to seats to a travel agency, and what they'll do is they'll have agreements with travel agencies where they'll say, okay, for every single seat that you sell, we will give you a commission, which is normal, but it'll be special. So because it's better to sell something, because if you're selling it, if you're not filling it at all, filling the seats at all, that's a lot more of a loss than if you fill it out with the discount. You see what I'm saying? So there's something, I don't know if they still use this. This is an industry term, and in travel agencies it's called a consolidator. What a consolidator is basically it's a centralized place where they record off-peak season times and then the prices that they have for those seats. Okay? So what they'll do is they'll have special deals where it's easier to sell uh, from the travel agency. Okay? Therefore, the cost, because the price is discounted during off-peak season, um, they'll pass that savings down. The travel agency will, at least from my understanding, is the common practice that they'll pass that cost savings down to the consumer. All right, now there's something extra I thought I'd add to that. Consumer demographics, lifestyles, and spending patterns are changing rapidly as retailing technologies. Okay, yes. So we have to look at the trends compared to technologies. Technologies change how people buy. Now, to be successful, retailers must choose to target segments carefully and position themselves strongly. They need to take the following retailing developments into account as they plan and execute the competitive strategies. First of all, you need to consider a slowed economy and a tighter consumer spending, which is pretty straightforward because in a bad economy, people have less money to spend, right? Maybe they lost their job, maybe their business is not making as much money, maybe they're not working as many hours at work, maybe their investments are not doing as well. Depending on who you are, you're making less money. So even if you're rich, you're still lost some. There's still a hit to your business, and there's still an impact to your business. So what retailers do? So some retailers actually benefit from a down economy. For example, as consumers cut back and look for further ways to spend less on what they buy, big discounters such as Walmart scoop up new business from bargain shoppers. So maybe they weren't as bargain hungry in a good economy, but they are now. So they'll get those customers. So you gotta consider something. Not everybody's in the same sort of niche. Even when we're talking about retailing now, not everybody's in the same niche. Why? Because it depends on the type of retailing we're dealing with. Okay? But it's just like this. It's kind of like if nobody, it's kind of like nobody can afford to buy, let's say, $20 pizza, but they can buy $10 pizza. The guy who's been selling the $10 pizza before now gets more business because more people want to buy the $10 pizza, for example, instead of the $20 pizza. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? It's just like that. Okay? The idea was before he had a demographics of people, he had enough people buying compared to what he needed to operate as a business. Now he has more market share because he's taking the market share from the other niches into his niche. Do you understand? That's what it is. Similarly, lower priced fast food chains such as McDonald's have also been taking business from their pricier eater out competitors. So the people who already are offering for cheaper are just getting more business. It's as simple as that. Beyond cost cutting and price promotion, many retailers have also added new value pricing to their positioning. For example, Home Depot replaced the older "you can do it" with "we can help" theme, being thriftier, more savings, more doing. Similarly, Whole Foods Market kicked up the new promotion of the 365 Everyday Value Chain, private label branded with ads supporting headlines such as "Sticker Shocks can end, but in a good way, no wallets were harmed," and buying these 365 Everyday Value products. Okay, so what they'll do is they'll have two lines. Number lines is a product mix where you have two or more products. Type of products are being sold. So instead of your higher priced items, you also sell something maybe middle priced that they can afford. You may have promotions for that stuff. Okay. Usually it's because they add a medium price, something a little bit cheaper. It's not too expensive, but costs price is enough to make a profit. Okay? Now, or it could be they're only selling certain items that are cheaper and take away their customers from the supermarkets. That's another way too. Okay? When reaching, when reacting to economic difficulties, retailers must be careful that their short-run actions don't damage their long-run images and positions. And you can't have promotions for too long. Number one, because it damages your profits, and number two, it damages your perception of the value of the brand. Okay? Now here you can see the logo in Whole Foods. Anyone can sell products by dropping their prices, but doesn't mean brand loyalty. Brand loyalty is based upon a superior experience with the brand in terms of customer or value added experience, value added plus price of the product itself. Instead of relying on cost cutting and price reductions, retailers should focus on building greater customer value. Remember this. Focus on building greater customer value within their long-term store positioning strategies. Okay. If you create, there's an old saying: price is not the issue; it's the value that's the issue. Meaning that people will pay more if we're getting more. Just like this. Suppose you say, okay, I'm going to go to the supermarket. I'm going to buy one for, let's say, $1. But let's say that person could buy four of them at once at that same rate, which means they'll pay, for example, $4 every month because they'll buy $1 every week. For example, I know it's not $1, but I'm just saying, for example, $1, $10, whatever it is. But in the month, they normally pay 40. So what you do is you say, okay, I'll give you a discount if you pay more upfront. So instead of instead of them paying the 40, which they normally do over the month's time, how about you front load what they'll do front loading, which just means put everything up in the beginning, providing everything in the beginning. So instead of 40, they're paying 35. And then you get 35 up front, and then you can replenish the supply. You know what I'm saying? In reality, you're still making a profit because normally a price target is usually something that involves a markup of at least 15%. So let's say 40%. Let's say $40 a month. That's $6. If you discount it $5, you're still making $1 profit. Okay. Whatever it is. Okay. I'm just saying bare bones. You're still making profit. It's a lot less, and it can be a limited time too. So you can have different things at limited times. It's possible. And it can be for different reasons, good reasons. So one could be if we have an overstock of it. Well, by definition, if there's not enough demand, you have to reduce the price. Okay. So it could be different ones that are about to expire. For example, items are about to expire anyway. You can't sell it anyway. You might as well just discount it and get something for it. Because, for example, let's say a month later, you can't sell it because it's already past its buy price, buy by whatever date price. Yeah. So that's one way. Now let's talk about new retail forms, shortening retail life cycles, and retail conversions. Those are three things. So the first one, when we talk about that, we need to understand that new retail forms continue to emerge to meet similarities for consumer needs. The life cycle of the new retail forms is getting shorter. Department stores took about 100 years to reach the mature stage of the life cycle. More recent forms, such as warehouse stores, reached maturity in about 10 years. In such an environment, seemingly solid retail positions can crumble quickly. On the top 10 discount retailers in 1962, this year that Walmart and Kmart began, but not one coexisted today, that is. Even the most successful retailers can't sit back with a winning formula. To remain successful, they must keep adapting, such as exactly what I said. Remember, I've said this in the past? That's what it is. As demand changes, products have to change. Now I'm trying to adapt to this problem. Okay, here we go. Now, with that said, let's talk about what wheel of retailing concept is. That is, a concept that states that every type of retailer must usually begin at a low margin, low price, low status operations, but later evolve into a higher priced, higher service operation, eventually becoming like the conventional retailers they replace. So, that's what that is. You start small, and your price increases over time as the service increases. So if the quality of the service increases, that means that you can likewise increase the price. You understand what I mean by that, right? Now, although new retail forms are always emerging, today's forms appear to be converging. Increasingly, different types of retailers now sell the same types of products at the same prices to the consumers. To the same consumers. Okay. Here. For example, you can buy brand name home appliances at department stores, discount stores, and home improvement stores. Off-price retailers, electronic superstores, and a slew of websites all compete for the same customer. So if you can't find a microwave you want at Sears, you step across the street and you find one better price at Lowe's or Best Buy, or just order one from Amazon.com or RitzCamera.com. This emerging consumers, products, prices, and retailers is called retail convergence. Okay. Such convergence means greater competition in retailers and greater difficulty in differentiating the product assortment, of different types of retailers. So just like this, if everybody's selling the same kind of product, it means multiple companies are selling the same type of product. That's when you have a problem with showing the difference between this product and this product. See what I'm saying? One solution to that could be that you could offer different types of service or warranties with the product. This is possible. Even if you charge a customer more, you can say, okay, I'm charging you, for example, $25 more, but it's because you get a warranty, an extra 1 year warranty, or extra customer service, or whatever, something like that, like priority customer service, meaning like because you paid more for it. See what I'm saying? In the queue line for customer service, you'll go ahead in the line as a priority. Now, let's talk about the rise of the mega retailers. The huge mass merchandisers, especially superstores, the formation of vertical marketing systems, and the rash of retail mergers and acquisitions have created a core of superpower retailers. Okay. Now, let's talk about what that is. Through their superior information systems and buying power, these giant retailers can offer better merchandise selections, good service, and strong price savings to consumers. As a result, they grow even larger by squeezing the smaller, weaker competitors. The mega retailers have shifted the balance of power between retailers and producers. A small handful of retailers now control access to enormous numbers of consumers, giving them the upper hand in the dealings of manufacturers. For example, you may never have heard of specialty coatings and sealants manufacturers, RPM International, but you've probably used one or more of their um, familiar do-it-yourself brands such as Rusty Olam Paints, Plastic Wood, Dap Fillers, Mohawk, and Waco Finishes, Testers Hobby, uh, Cements, and Paints, all of which you can buy at your local Home Depot store. Home Depot is a very important customer to RPM, accounting for a significant share of the consumer's sales. However, Home Depot's sales is of a $66 billion to close to 60 times RPM sales of $3.4 billion. As a result, the giant retailer can and often does use this to wring concessions of RPM and thousands of other smaller suppliers. Now, how about the growth of non-store retail? Most of us make use of our purchases the old-fashioned way, as in we go to the store, find what we need, or find what we want, and wait patiently in line to plunk down our cash or credit card and bring home its goods. However, consumers now have a broad array of non-store alternatives, including mail order, phone, and online shopping. Okay, so we have different ways now of purchasing than before. With more options comes better option. With more options comes more competition, which makes it better options. Americans are increasingly avoiding the hassles and crowds at malls by doing more of the shopping by phone or customer. Okay. Or, phone or computer. Okay. Um, Retailer online sites also influence large amount of in-store buying. For example, it might be surprising to know that 80% of shoppers research products online before going to the store to make a purchase. Now, as of 2023, that's probably not as surprising anymore. Okay? 62% of the way they spend at least 30 minutes online every week help them decide what they want to buy. So it's no longer a matter of customer deciding to shop in the store or shop online. Increasingly, customers are merging store and online outlets into a single shopping process. In fact, the internet has spawned a whole new breed of shopper in the way of shopping. Because if it's not necessary to go to the store, if it's more convenient to go to the store, and if it's easier to not go to the store but to do everything online, then what do you think people are going to do? They're going to go online, right? Okay, you see here a picture of some girl also looking for something online as well. Same thing. All types of retailers now employ direct and online channels. Online sales of brick and mortar retailers such as Walmart, Sears, Staples, and Best Buy are increasing rapidly. Now, several large online-only retailers such as Amazon.com, Zappos, and online travel companies such as Travelocity and Expedia.com or others are now making it big on the web. On the other extreme, hordes of niche marketers are using internet to reach new markets and expand their sales. This is where niche marketing can help by using the internet. Still, much of the anticipated growth in online sales will go to multi-channel retailers, that is, like the click-and-brick marketers who can successfully merge their virtual and physical worlds. In a recent study, the top 500 online retail sites, 58% of them were multi-channel retailers. For example, Macy's beefed up website complements in more than 800 Macy's stores around the country. Although many Macy's customers make purchases online, the site and range of features designed for brand loyalty, Macy's and pull customers into stores. Like many retailers, Macy's has discovered its best customers shop both online and offline. But when our customers shop, meaning both online and in store, they spend 20% more in stores than the average in-store shopper, and 60% more than the average online shopper at Macy's.com. Says the chairman of Macy's.com, but the website aims to do more than just sell products online. Quote, we see Macy's.com as far more than selling site. We see them as an online hub for Macy's. So it's basically like it fills a couple roles. It fills the role of selling. At the same time, it fills the role of brand building or being able to advertise. Growing importance of retail technology. Retail technologies have become critically important and competitive tools. Progressive retailers are using advanced IT and software systems to produce better forecasts. Control inventory costs, interact electronically with suppliers and information between stores, and even sell to customers within stores. They have adopted sophisticated systems for checkout scanning, RFID inventory tracking, merchandise handling, and information sharing and interacting with customers. Perhaps the most startling advances in retail technology concern the ways in which retailers are connecting with consumers, and also concerning as well. Today's customers have gotten used to the speed and convenience of buying online and the control the internet has given them over the buying process. The web lets consumers shop the way they like and where they like, with instant access to the information about competing products and prices. No real-world store can do all that. Increasingly, however, retailers are attempting to meet the new consumer expectations by bringing web-style technologies into their stores. These retailers now routinely use technologies ranging from touchscreen kiosks and mobile handheld shopping assistants and consumer loyalty cards to self-scanning checkout systems and in-store access to the inventory databases, which is quite the range. To engage shoppers as they roll the carts down the aisle to speed up the checkout and generally improve the shopping experience, Stop & Shop provides customers with mobile handheld scanners. Shoppers retrieve a scanner by swiping their loyalty card and then scan it to big products as they shop. The device keeps a recurring total of purchases. Okay. As customers' shopping history and current selections as scanners pull out the prices. Oops. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Customers can even use the scanners to place deli orders while they shop elsewhere in the store. When customers arrive at the deli counter, the order is waiting for them. When done, shoppers pay and go quickly at the dedicated self-checkout lane. The scanners now process about 10% of the Stop & Shop store sales. The new technology not only makes shopping faster and more convenient for customers, but also reduces the operating costs. Yes, because if you don't need a person to do that, and it's cheaper. We also have something called green retailing. Okay. Now, today's retailers increasingly adopting environmentally sustainable practices. They are greening up the stores' operations, promoting with environmentally responsible products, launching programs to help customers be more responsible, and working with channel partners to reduce environmental impact. Okay, now you might ask yourself, how do they do it? At the most basic level, more large retailers are making their stores more environmentally friendly through sustainable building design, construction, and operations. Okay. For example, now Safeway stores employ extensive recycling and compost programs, wind energy and solar panels for power, and regionally sourced sustainable building materials. Okay. Now, this was 2012, so now when we consider other options, as you can technically now you can print out a building, which means part by part of a building you can print it out and have it assembled. Was it Tesla or one of Elon Musk's companies has the ability to, as of some 3, 4, 5 years ago, has the ability to actually not even more than 3 years ago, 4, 5, 6 years ago, this ability where you can use a 3D printer and print out sections or parts of a building. And the result of all that is that it's much cheaper to buy that building. Now, of course, there's other ways, manufacturing processes that are more efficient, and also it's made out of recycled material. It's also cheaper and more environmentally friendly. There is an example here from Cary, North Carolina. It's built and furnished mostly with reclaimed building materials. The parking lot is made with permeable pavers which absorb and clean storm water and filter it back into the water table. Okay. It's kind of an interesting way of doing it, but that's how they do it. So you have everything from energy efficient LEDs. They consume as much as 78% less energy. Lasts 10 to 20 times longer than traditional lighting. Also, you have super high efficiency HVAC systems inside the restaurant, and soluble skylights as well that bring natural light into the to reduce energy use. If you're not familiar with the acronym of HVAC, that's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. That's the system in which that you heat, ventilate, and cool down the place. That is a specialty system that they have at a building. By the way, not cheap. Okay, now a sophisticated lighting system adjusts indoor illumination based upon light entering through a skylight. The dining room is filled with materials made from recyclable content. That is, recyclable floor tiles, for example, and counters made from recyclable glass and concrete. So, of course, this is also going to be cheaper because the cost the person who sold them either got it for much cheaper, either because they got it directly from the person who collects that, or they just bought it from a reseller that is much cheaper and sold it to McDonald's. So either way, it's much cheaper, no matter how you look at it. So you can see that this one way is greening up the place. Now, retailers also are greening up their product assortments. For example, JCPenney's, Simply Green, this designation that identifies store brands of products that are organic, renewable, and made from recycled content. So this is kind of like their value proposition. Is okay, we have this. And the reason why that matters is because it appeals to a certain demographic that are green friendly. Many retailers also have launched programs that help consumers make more environmentally responsible decisions. Staples Eco Easy program also helped customers identify green produces sold in stores and makes it easy to recycle printer cartridges. Also, cell phones, computers, and office technology products. So, supposedly it's cheaper to recycle than to make a new product. Finally, many large retailers are joining forces with suppliers and distributors to create more sustainable products, packaging, and distribution systems. For example, Amazon.com works directly with producers of many of the products that we sell and to simplify their packaging. And beyond its substantial sustainability initiative, Walmart wields its huge buying power to urge the army of suppliers to improve their environmental impact and practices. The retail also has developed worldwide sustainable product index. That is, by which they rate suppliers. It plans to translate the index into a simple rating for consumers and help them make more sustainable buying choices. And remember, this is as of 2012, so a lot has happened in between. Meaning it's very likely that they have more companies doing the same thing. Now, in terms of the global expansion of major retailers, retails with sorry, with retail's unique formats and strong brand positioning, increasingly moving into other countries. That is, many are expanding internationally to escape mature and saturated home markets. So that's the reason. Over the years, some giant U.S. retailers such as McDonald's have become globally prominent as a result of their marketing prowess. Others, such as Walmart, are rapidly establishing a global presence. Now, Walmart, which more which now operates more than 4,000 stores in 14 countries abroad, sees exciting global potential. And this, of course, as of 2012, so by now it's already made more impact. Its international division alone last year racked up more sales than $100 billion, over 50% more than rival Target's total sales of $63 billion. However, most U.S. retailers are still significantly behind Europe and Asia when it comes to global expansion. 10 of the world's top 20 retailers are U.S. companies. Only 4 of those retailers are established stores outside of North America, such as Walmart, Home Depot, Sears, really? And Costco. All the top 10 U.S. retailers in the world's top 20 even have more stores in at least 10 countries. Among foreign retailers have seen global are France's Carrefour, Auchan chains, and Germany's Metro Aldi chains, and Britain's Tesco. So you can see that French discount retailer Carrefour is the world's second largest retailer after Walmart, and have embarked on an aggressive mission to extend its role as a leading international retailer. I can tell you that through my experience being overseas, that they are in multiple countries. So there was one, I remember them being in Jakarta, Indonesia. I think they're also in Singapore, and I think I also saw them somewhere in like Hong Kong and Shenzhen and other places in China as well. and I think also in Japan and South Korea, if I remember right. Now, here's a definition in terms. This is pretty basic, but just as a review, wholesaling is all the activities included in selling goods and services that from buying and resale of for business use. Okay. This is very broad. That's wholesaling. Now, wholesaler is a firm engaged in wholesaling activities. That is, engaged in the activities involving selling goods and services to those buying or buying for resale or for business use. Now, some of this stuff is pretty straightforward, but Granger has a way that it uses supply system to fit the needs and demands of people in a more efficient way. So wholesaling, many of the nation's largest and most important wholesalers like Granger are largely unknown to final consumers, but they are very well known to much and valued by the business customers they serve. So basically, it's like saying consumers unfamiliar with all the materials that goes into making a computer or all the individual components, but they know the component as a whole. That's kind of like that. Like Granger would supply or have the finished part of each unit that goes into making something else. You understand what I'm saying? Now remember, we need to understand about why wholesaling is important. In other words, why would a producer use wholesalers rather than selling directly to retailers and consumers? Simply put, wholesalers add value to performing one or more of the following channel functions. First of all, is for selling and promoting. Wholesalers' sales forces help manufacturers reach many small customers at a low cost. The wholesaler has more contacts and often more trusted by the buyer than the distant manufacturer. Number two, my mouse will work. Uh, in terms of buying and assortment holding, wholesalers can select time and build assortments needed for the customers, thereby saving much work. The third thing is bulk breaking. That is, wholesalers save their customers money by buying in a carload lots and breaking bulk, which is breaking large into small quantities. They also use warehousing, which is warehouses hold inventories, thereby reducing the inventory costs and risks of suppliers and customers. Transportation, obviously, that's to transport goods, or deliver goods to buyers. For financing, wholesalers finance the customers by giving them credit, and they finance their suppliers by ordering early and paying bills on time. So it depends on from which angle. In terms of risk bearing, wholesalers also risk by taking title in bearing the cost of theft, damage, and spoilage and obsolescence, which means it is no longer relevant or no longer working at the level that it should compared to other products. And market information. Wholesalers give information to suppliers and customers about competitors, new products, and price developments. Because if you consider the wholesaler is not in competition with the retailer, wholesaler is basically the supplier for the retailer. Okay? Wholesaler sells to the retailer. So all these different retailers, Walmart, Target, blah blah, they're buying from a wholesaler or directly from the supplier themselves. Also, management services and advice. Wholesalers often help Retailers train their sales clerks and layout supplies to set up accounting and inventory control systems. Excuse me. So that is a value-added service that they do offer. Okay? So just like this, if I'm selling something that's a new product that they've never used before, the retailer will be trained on how to use this as so they can use it for their own systems, like POS or point of sale systems, and also for systems in which they're going to sell to their customers. Now let's talk about types of wholesalers as per the definition. First of all, we have a merchant wholesaler, which is an independently owned wholesaler business, that takes title to the merchandise it handles. The second one is a broker. A broker is a wholesaler who does not take title to goods and whose function is to bring buyers and sellers together to assist in negotiation, otherwise known as the middleman. The middleman facilitates a large purchase between a retailer and a wholesaler. An agent is a wholesaler who represents buyers and sellers on a relatively permanent basis, performs only a few functions, does not take title to the goods. When they say title, they don't mean the name, they refer to the legal ownership of. And then also the manufacturer sales branches and offices, that is, wholesaling by sellers or buyers themselves rather than through independent wholesalers. Okay. So remember, that's wholesaling by sellers or buyers themselves rather than through independent wholesalers. Okay, so that's where we have a consolidated situation where the manufacturer can also be the wholesaler. So basically, when you have the manufacturer, the wholesaler essentially is a supplier, by definition. So what you do is you reduce one of your intermediaries and say, okay, buy directly from the manufacturer at wholesaler prices. Or even originator prices. Right. So, sorry, not at wholesaler prices, but at manufacturer prices. Okay. So instead of, because you're going to basically pay the same price as what the wholesaler does, and obviously because there's a markup, you're saving quite a bit of money because you're buying directly from the manufacturer. That's the idea. Now, let's talk about decisions that they have. Wholesaler marketing decisions is that wholesalers now face growing competitive pressures, more demand customers, new technologies, and more direct buying programs on the part of the large industrial, institutional, and retail buyers. Now, as a result, they have taken a fresh look at their marketing strategies. With retailers, their marketing decisions include choices as what are the choices? Segmentation and targeting. See? Differentiation and positioning, marketing mix, product and service assortments, price, promotion, and distribution. Now, I'll be showing later. I'm going to talk about the theory of it first. When we talk about segmentation, targeting, differentiation, and positioning decisions, what we're talking about, and as described by the book, is that like retail or wholesalers must segment and define target markets and differentiate their position themselves effectively. They cannot serve everyone. Right, because they cannot offer deals on small purchases, like a retailer, because, for example, the factory doesn't just make one; it makes thousands to hundreds of thousands per month. You understand what I'm saying? So as a result, they can choose a target group by size of customer, large retailers only, type of customer, or such as convenience stores, or the need for service, which is customers who need credit. Other factors with the target group. They can identify more profitable customers and design stronger here, design stronger offers and build better relationships with them. Okay, so when you buy from a manufacturer, if you have a well-established relationship, you can get something called an LOC, which is a letter of credit. What that is it basically says, okay, that they don't have to pay for the items until a month after they receive it. That's called letter of credit. But you cannot get that from a manufacturer without having a very long established relationship. So, with a wholesaler, it's possible to get that under certain economic and negotiated terms. Now, in terms of the marketing mix decisions, we need to consider the following. Like retailers, wholesalers must decide on product and service assortment, prices, promotion, and place. Remember the 4 Ps? Prices, promotion, and place. Wholesalers add customer value through products and services that they offer. Okay? What's the price? I mean, this is very, very basic stuff. Because what else are they adding value through? Well, it has to be through the products that they're selling, right? They are often under great pressure to carry a full line and stock enough for immediate delivery. Why? That's why they're a wholesaler. Just like the manufacturer, they don't sell in small amounts, they sell in large amounts. Just like Costco. Costco is not they sell in bulk, right? But Costco themselves is a wholesaler. See? So they skip the intermediary of the retailer. They sell directly to the consumer. You see how that is? That means that they can offer more greater quantities at a little bit cheaper price because they don't have to go through a retailer. Well, technically they are the retailer, which is skipping the intermediary and skipping the middleman as it relates to that. Now, also rethinking such service that count in the building. Most in building strong customer relationships in which it should be dropped and paid by the customer. The key is to find the mix of services most valued by the target customer. It's a very general idea, but it's very important. This is why you have to consider that your customers have different needs, and therefore you have to consider what their needs are and those accordingly. Obviously, price is your most important wholesaler decision because price is the bottom line. Wholesalers usually mark up the price of the goods by a standard percentage, let's say 20%. I'm saying at least 15. 15 is a very standard markup percentage. And in business itself, not just in wholesaling and retailing. In business itself, 15% is like a standard number. Now, it could be other numbers. It could be 17, 20, 25, 30, whatever it is. It normally is 15% or more. Wholesalers are trying new pricing approaches as well. The recent economic downturn of heavy pressure on wholesalers cut their goods and prices. As our retail industrial customers face sales and margin declines, these customers turn to wholesalers looking for lower prices. Wholesalers may cut their margins on some lines to keep important customers. Yes, because bottom line is what's going to cost you more? Getting new customers and losing business. So it's like a double whammy, right? The opportunity cost is higher because what you had to give up was more. And then the time and marketing cost to get a new customer is quite high. So better reduce some of the price just to keep the customer because that's going to cost you much less. Right? Remember that repeat business is where most business happens. Now we want to talk about major types of wholesalers. You have full service. This is the same kind of idea like retailers, except it's a wholesaler in terms of. So it's the same kind of idea on the service or the value added end. So basically, they provide a full line of services, carrying stock, maintaining sales force, offering credit, making deliveries, and providing management assistance. Full service wholesalers include wholesale merchants and industrial distributors. From my opinion, and I'm just going to speak for myself when I say this, but I think from an ethical standpoint, you should always be looking to give full service if possible, because that will create the maximum value added service, right? And because you have the maximum value added service, you've immediately differentiated yourself from your competitors. Remember that there's also wholesale merchants which sell primarily to retailers and provide a full range of services. General merchandise wholesalers carry lines, whereas general line resellers carry only two lines in great depth. Specialty wholesalers specialize in carrying only a part of a line. It depends on what they're selling and depends on their specialty. We also have industrial distributors sell to manufacturers rather than to retailers. These are what would be called your originators, okay? Because these are the people who have the finished product that's given to the manufacturer. It's basically like I have the raw materials, I manufacture the raw materials into a finished product, and I sell that finished product to the manufacturer to assemble into one larger product transformation. Now we also have a limited service wholesalers that offer fewer services to full service wholesalers. Limited service wholesalers are of several types. One, cash and carry wholesalers. Pretty straightforward. Carry a limited amount of fast moving goods to sell to small retailers that cash normally do not deliver. Number two, truck wholesalers or truck jobbers. Perform primarily a selling and delivery function. Carry a limited line of semi-perishable merchandise such as milk, bread, and snack foods, which sold for cash, and deliveries are made to supermarkets, small groceries, hospital restaurants, factory cafeterias, and hotels. We have drop shippers do not carry inventory or handle the product once receiving the order. Drop shippers select the manufacturer. Ooh, I kind of forgot about this one. Select a manufacturer who then ships the merchandise directly to the customer. Drop shippers operate in bulk industries such as coal, lumber, and heavy. This, by the way, over the past few years has been pretty hot as the drop shippers. Rack jobbers serve grocery and drug retailers, especially non-food items. Rack jobbers send delivery trucks to stores where the delivery people set up toy, paperback, hardware items, health, beauty, ads, and other items. Rack jobbers price the goods, keep them fresh, and set up point of purchase displays and keep inventory records. That's oftentimes with your convenience stores or rec shoppers. Produce cooperatives are farmer-owned members that assemble them farm produce and sale of local markets. Producer cooperatives often attempt to improve product quality and promote co-op brand names such as Sun-Made Raisins, Sun-Kissed Oranges, or Diamond Walnuts. Right, so it's basically like, okay, the producer, just like in the manufacturing case, it's basically the same idea except for specialty products. And you have mail order or web wholesalers, which is send catalogs to maintain website and retail, industrial, and institutional customers featuring jewelry, cosmetics, specialty foods, and other small items. Its primary customers are businesses in small outlying areas. So that's what they call cash and carry wholesalers. Those are all of them under the cash and carry wholesalers category. Now we also have brokers and agents. We talk about brokers are bring buyers and sellers together and assist in negotiations. Brokers are paid by a party who hired the broker, do not carry inventory involved in refinancing or assure risk. So just like a real estate broker, right? They broker the deal, they arrange for the deal. Agents represent the buyers or sellers on a more permanent basis than brokers do. So we have agents. So brokers is kind of like a one-shot, whereas agents is more of a permanent type. So for agents, we have manufacturers, selling, and purchasing agents. For manufacturers, pretty straightforward. Represents two or more manufacturing complementary lines. Often used in lines such as apparel, furniture, and electronic goods. A manufacturing agent is hired by a manufacturer who cannot afford their own field sales forces and by large manufacturers who use agents to open new territories or cross territories over that cannot support full-time sales. Sort of like your consultants, if you want to look at that one. You have selling agents, have contractual authority to sell a manufacturer's entire output. The selling agent serves as a sales department for the significant influence in terms of price terms, let me get this up here, conditions of sale. Okay. Purchasing agents generally have a long-term relationship with buyers who make purchases for them, often receiving, inspecting, warehousing, and shipping merchandise to buyers. Purchasing agents help clients obtain the best goods and prices available. Okay, so now, in terms of the major types of wholesalers, we have a couple more. We have the commission merchants. Those take physical possession of products and negotiate sales, such as what a broker would do. Used most often in agricultural marketing by farmers who did not want to sell their own output. Takes a truckload of commodities to a central market, sells it for the best price, and deducts commission expenses, and it remits the balance to the producers. So it's basically like I sell it for you, I get the money, I give you the sales from the goods minus my commission. Then we have manufacturing offices and branches. That's for sales branches and offices. Pretty straightforward. So some manufacturers improve inventory control, selling, and promotion. Sales branches carry inventory that are found in industries such as lumber and automotive equipment and parts. Sales offices do not carry inventory and are most prominent in the dry goods and notions industries. Purchasing offices performs a role similar to that of brokers or agents that are both part of the buyer's organization. Many retailers set up purchasing offices in major centers such as New York and Chicago. Okay, so it's basically like similar to what we were already talking about in terms of that. Then wholesaler marketing strategy. This is pretty straightforward, but I'm going to explain this to you. With the wholesaler strategy, we need the wholesaler segmentation and targeting, like we've talked about before, and then the differentiation in service positioning. So it's pretty straightforward once you've got the idea. So we have the first category, which is wholesaler strategy. Second one is wholesale marketing mix, which is the product, services, and opportunities. We have the wholesaler prices, promotion, and distribution. So we think of the marketing mix, we talk about the products and the promotion. Strategy, we talk about the targeting and the segmentation positioning. We take this basically the wholesale strategy, combine it with the wholesaler marketing mix, and what do we get? Well, when we combine those two, we create value for targeted wholesale customers, or if we do it separately, we can also create value for targeted wholesale customers, but in different ways. Let's just talk about some trends in wholesaling. Today's trends face considerable challenges. The industry remains vulnerable to one of its most enduring needs, the need for even greater efficiency. Now, remember that this was done in 2012, so remember that some of this may already be implemented, and most likely will be. Recent economic conditions have led to demand for even lower prices in winnowing out suppliers who are not adding value to the baseline cost and quality. So what are they trying to find? Suppliers who are not we want suppliers who are adding value to this cost and the quality. Progressive wholesalers constantly watch for better ways to meet changing needs of the suppliers and target customers. So that's basically what they're doing. And I suspect that's the education industry. The people at the top two are going to be, although that's a different industry than what we're talking about. I suspect at the top, the president, the vice president of a college, university, they're going to use the same marketing concept, and it's going to be the board of directors will say, okay, what value have you added? And I know this sounds funny, but a lot of people, including myself, would say the value they're adding to is decorating their office and how good their golf game is. That's about it. But anyway, that's besides the point, just my opinion. They recognize that their only reason for existence comes from adding value to increasing the efficiency and effectiveness of the entire marketing channel. So that's the purpose. Only reason for existence comes from adding value by increasing the efficiency and effectiveness of the entire marketing channel. As with any types of marketers, the goal is to build value-adding customer relationships. Okay? For example, Grainger succeeds by making life easier and more efficient for the commercial and institutional buyers and for the seller it serves. Why? That's B2B, not B2C. You see? Beyond making it easier for customers to find the products they need, Grainger also helps them streamline their acquisition process. So it's easier, it's efficient, it's integrated. Now we have some examples here you can read. Also cooperate with me here. Here we go. Now, in healthcare, we also have such a process in which a wholesaler of pharmaceuticals, health and beauty care, home care, and medical supply and equipment products provides another example of progressive value-adding wholesaling. Okay. To survive, especially in harsh economic environment, McKesson has been able now to to be more cost effective than manufacturing sales branches. Thus, the company has built a efficient automated warehouse to establish direct computer links with drug manufacturers and created extensive online supply management and accounts receivable systems for customers. Okay, it offers retail pharmacists a wider range of online resources, including supply management assistance, catalog services, real-time order tracking, and an account management system. It has also created solutions such as automated pharmaceutical dispensing machines that assist pharmacists with reducing costs and improving accuracy. So in this industry, that's how they did it. Okay? You have to always relate it back to the industry you're in, because each industry has a different purpose for being and has a different value to the customer in terms of their needs. It also offer surgical supply, etc., and it's the same idea. Now, distinction between large retailers and large wholesalers continues to blur, especially where sometimes a wholesaler can be a retailer, but a retailer is not usually a wholesaler. Many retailers operate formats such as wholesale clubs and supercenters that perform many wholesaler functions, and that would be like a big company like Costco or Walmart. Now, with Walmart, they have their own bulk purchasing customer loyalty program like Costco does, like a customer membership program. Okay? You can have a subset like that where you have a line of this kind or this kind, and you can choose which one fits the needs of the customer better. Wholesalers will continue to increase services they provide to retailers, as in retail pricing, competitive advertising, marketing and management information reports, accounting services, online transaction, and others as well. Both the recently sluggish economy and demand for increased services have put the squeeze on wholesaler profits. Wholesalers who do not find efficient ways to deliver value to their customers will soon drop by the wayside. However, the increased use of computerized, automated, and web-based systems will help retailers contain the cost of ordering, shipping, inventory holding, and boosting their productivity. So this is really the point of all of that as wholesale. And then the last point I should mention is that facing slow growth in domestic markets and such developments as the North American Free Trade Agreement or NAFTA, many large wholesalers are now going global. Why? Because they can sell more product and they have a greater opportunity to sell more product through more markets. So one term in business is called leveraging a market or expanding out of market. Leveraging meaning you use what you have to expand out or just expanding out. Okay. Notice I didn't read everything word for word, but that wasn't the point of our review. And our lesson was to get you to understand the main ideas, apply it, and put it into the perspective of how it can be understood. Now, just as a review, to make sure you understood things, from our objectives, number one, we need to have the ability to explain the role of retailers in the distribution channel and describe the major types of retailers. Okay, I won't read the explanation, but that's your goal. For objective 2, our goal is to describe the major retailer marketing decisions. For objective 3, we need to discuss the major trends and development in retailing. And the fourth objective is we need to be able to explain the major types of wholesalers and their marketing decisions. Now, our final thing in terms of doing a skill check is to make sure we understand the key terms from all four objectives. From objective 1, that's retailing, retailer, shopper marketing, specialty store, department store, supermarket, convenience store, superstore, and category killer, as well as service retailer, discount store, off-price retailer, independent off-price retailer, factory outlet, warehouse club, chain stores, and franchise. Project number 2 is the shopping center. Project number 3, wheel of retailing concept. Objective 4, wholesaling, wholesaler, merchant wholesaler, broker, agent, and manufacturer sales branches and offices. Make sure that you've understood all of those, and mainly that you have the ability to explain your own words, unless of course you've memorized it. But if you memorize it, you still need to be able to explain it in a way that a person who's never heard it before can understand it. Now, the rest of this stuff is some homework you can do as extra practice. Feel free to do it if you'd like. That will help you, but it depends on if you feel that you need to practice or not. Now, that will do it for now. Keep in mind for next week, next week. That will be Thursday. We're going to talk about communicating customer value and integrated marketing communication strategy. This is what we're going to talk about for next week. Okay? Now, go back to chapter 13. I want to make sure that you understand retailing and wholesaling. The main things I want to communicate from this before I finish off is the differences between retailing and wholesaling. What do they both do? What are the different types? What are the applications? What are the trends? And how do they add value to the supply chains? And who do they serve? Okay? And also, if you'd like, you should understand or you should be able to review some famous companies who do retailing in a way that's made them more efficient and thus more profitable. Okay? As well as the supply chain relationships that wholesalers have made and how they can sell through factory outlets and other things such as those. So, that will do it for today. I know that that was valuable for you because if you apply the concepts, the principles, and the ideas presented in this chapter, definitely be able to improve your business model and the overall revenue of the company. So what I'd like you to do at this point, I'd like you to click like on the video as I know that it created value for you. And when you click like, it will be pushed to the algorithm in YouTube and Rumble. That way more people will be able to see it, enjoy learning it, and get value from it. If you haven't already, please click subscribe. That way you'll be able to access all my videos on my channel, in fact, I do have different content on there, ranging everywhere from gaming all the way to different subjects such as marketing, ITIL, and other subjects in the works as well. So, also, if you haven't already, please click the bell button. The way you'll be notified of all my future videos. I'd like to again thank you for watching this video. I do appreciate that. I'd like to wish you a great day wherever you are in the world. Take care, and I'll talk to you